types of computer networks. So we will be talking about various computer networks, but the distinct types of computer networks, let us start with that. You will find it in an enterprise, in a home, or even in the vicinity, your neighborhood. So to access internet, these networks are called as mobile and broadband access networks. To access internet means data, to connect to the internet and get the data. Then the data center networks. Here we have data housed and the application. Then we have the transit networks. Transit means if you are going from source to destination and you are staying somewhere or in between you are waiting for some time, that is called transit. So this kind of transit networks we'll talk about. And then we have the enterprise network. It can be your campus, your college, your institution, your building or organization. So here we will see the enterprise networks. So we'll talk about one by one, each of them. Broadband access networks. Now most of you might be having this network at your home to access the internet. Previously, when they became popular, people were buying the computers for word processing, games, etc. But now you'll find some people are buying computers only for internet access. So internet access, why it is important, it is providing you, that you are inside your home and you are now connected to whole globe, whole world. So here you can, from your comfort of your home, you can access information, communicate to people, make friends, buy products, buy even these services. Now here is Mr. Bob Metcalfe. Now he is the inventor of Ethernet. I'll tell you about this. IEEE, it is a standard. But for now, he said something. Actually, he hypothesized. He postulated something. And he said that the idea of a network, value of a network, the respect of a network, or the size of the network is proportional to the square of the number of users. So what are the number of users? Square it. That will tell you the size or the value of the network. And whatever he said, actually it is called as Metcalfe's hypothesis. And because of this, now you see his thoughts are so prominent. The internet comes with that size that he postulated. So you see how internet has evolved from Metcalfe's hypothesis. So broadband access network, they are multiplying, that is people are using it. So they are delivered to your homes through various transmission media like copper wires, telephone lines, coaxial cable like the cables and the optical fibers. And the speeds are tremendous, more than gigabit per second, and mostly people are using it on mobile now because mobiles are almost like computers now. Mobile and wireless access network. Now these are two different things. Mobile network and wireless access network. They are two different things, okay? So mobile computers like your laptop, tablet, smartphones, this is the largest, fastest growing segment in the computer industry. Most of the, say cost, time, the effort is put in these and people are buying it because. So people use their mobile devices, these tablets and laptops, smartphones. So they are using it anywhere. This is very important. They are moving and using. They are reading, sending email. They are in Twitter, they are tweeting, they are watching movies, they are listening to music, they are playing game, they are going from here and there through maps or simply surfing. Now, the interest is where? In car, in boats, in airplanes, it is impossible to have a wired connection because the airplane is moving always. It is in, thousands of feet height. Cars, boat. Now, what about cellular networks? This is a familiar kind of wireless. See, cellular network means you have a mobile. You must be paying some company for that mobile connection. So that is the easiest kind of wireless I can tell you right now. And what about wireless access networks? Wireless hotspots. I hope you got the idea. Mobile is different. Mobile is the company you are paying, mobile network you are getting. I'm talking about wireless hotspot, and there are various standards of 802.11 IEEE standards of wireless LANs, WLAN. So it's all started, 802.11a. Now we have 802.11ax. Next is also coming. So from 54 Mbps, now we have gone up to 10 to 12 Gbps. So I'm talking about wireless hotspot based on 802.11 standards. And here we have wireless network. This is a wireless network standard for mobile computers and portable devices. You can take your phone, get the data connection from the hotspots, and of course the tablets also can have. For example, they are helpful for the services like Uber. It is not Uber, it's Uber, Ola, Lyft, right? So please remember, let me tell you again, wireless networking and mobile are not identical. They are different. Let me tell you a tabular, way to understand this. Wireless networking and mobile. Mobile is what the company you are connected with. Wireless networking is networking with wireless, you're getting data. So let's just take an example of desktop computer in your offices. They are neither wireless nor mobile because they are desktop computers. A laptop computer, if you use it in a hotel room, so it is wireless? No. You have to put some wire into some jack. But it is mobile. Okay? Because laptop is, of course, you have taken from your house to your hotel. Then when networks in an unwired building, a building where is no wire, there are networks, so it is wireless. But it is not mobile. If you go out of the range, you won't get the connection. But store inventory with a handheld computer is both of them. You can also tell this in another way, that wireless computers are not mobile. If you go out of the range, it won't work like a mobile, a cellular network. So I'll tell you an example. Office, home, if it is there and you don't have proper cabling. So what we can do? We can have the computers which can be connected wirelessly. Rather than installing wires, we can do this. So there are also true mobiles. Means as those application, there are mobile and wireless application both. They are also like that. I'll give an example. See, there is an airport, a car comes here, then return back, and now a person has to charge. That what is the cost of parking and everything. So now this car rental return clerk working in a parking lot, he is having a wireless mobile computer. So mobile also and wireless also. So for example, he is scanning the barcodes or the RFIDs in the returning cards. We have FASTag in India. So their mobile device, they have built-in computer. They have a connection with the main computer. They can get the rental information, amount information, what they have to pay, and they can also print out the bill also. So it is mobile also, wireless also. The smartphones which we have, it can be Apple, it can be Samsung, it can be Vivo. Now these combine the aspect of both of these, mobile and wireless. So you have mobile phones also and mobile computers. It is acting as mobile phone and mobile computers because now we have an operating system. When you are using data, when you are calling someone, that is you are using mobile services. When you are using the data with some certain network, access network, you are using the data with the access network. So these phones connect to wireless hotspot. They can also automatically switch between networks like 3G, 4G, some Vodafone, some other mobile service. So previously, when this there was no internet data, etc., it was all about SMS, short messaging service. In US it is called. In other places also it is called. In US it is called as texting, text messaging. So this was used tremendously when data was not that popular, and it was not that inexpensive. Right now we have, but now because of WhatsApp, Signal, Facebook Messenger, these all have overtaken SMS. Now people don't SMS or they don't text like this. They just use these apps to connect. In this mobile and wireless access networks, see, your mobile is having now a GPS, most of the mobile, global positioning system. In the Navstar GPS which US provide, there are around 24 satellites, around 800-900 kilometers above. And they are using the process of trilateration to actually point the location, and you can get exact location and the height also sometimes. So exactly location can be known. So what are the good candidates? For example, You want to eat Chinese. You want to know what are the Chinese restaurants near me. You want to have local weather forecast. You are taking photographs and video. You want to annotate it or name it with some georeferencing tags. So this is geotags. So these are all the popularity and usage of GPS on your mobile. Then because mobile is everything everywhere now, so it is mobile commerce. Previously we call it as e-commerce. But now the e-commerce which is done on a mobile has taken the shape of mobile commerce. So have you seen people just tapping their card and payment is being done? This is through NFC. This is through NFC, and this is technology which everyone have now. NFC, near field communication. So now your mobile will start acting as a RFID smart card, and that can interact with any reader which is nearby, and you can pay. So this is also a RFID technology, you know. I'm going to show you this sensor network. So sensor network is all about sensors which are called as the nodes, and they can gather and relay information, whatever they sense, because they are sensors, and what is happening in the physical world, wherever you are moving. Okay, these are sensors getting the information, and this can be relayed so that everyone knows what is happening. For example, your car. Now your car is a sophisticated car. It has onboard diagnostic system. Now the sensors in this car can know the location, speed, vibration, fuel efficiency, wherever it is moving. So when this all information is available from your car, it is sensing it. Now when you imagine thousands of cars are doing that. Now these are sensors or information is going back somewhere, and it can be relayed to other cars. Now you know that how Google Maps show you the red line, that where you have potholes, where you have congested roads, and even if you are a gas guzzler, that is you are extremely using the fuel. Content provider networks. Many of the internet services now, they are coming from, or they are served from the cloud or the data center network. Now this is the picture of data center network. There are thousands and thousands and even millions of servers in a single location, and this single location go up to kilometers. So I'm talking about DCN, data center network, because of the increasing demand of computing, cloud computing. Now this is designed, this DCN is designed, the data center network, to transfer or move large amount of data between these servers which I'm showing and the internet. So data center networks, this is also facing this faces certain challenges, like to scale, means to add more servers and to increase the network throughput and to have an energy efficient way of working. So before I go ahead, let me talk about network throughput, because the main network throughput challenge is cross-section bandwidth, which is actually the data rate that can be delivered between any of the two servers in this data center network. So what is the bandwidth and what is the throughput? Just understand this. See, if I give you a pipe and the water is flowing, so the mouth of the pipe is the bandwidth. If you reduce the mouth of the pipe, the bandwidth is less. But the number of, here one data packet arrives within 1 second. Here 5 data packets arrive within 1 second. So the throughput of the second one is higher. So every data center previously, they were based on very simple tree topology. We'll be talking about tree topology later in detail. But right now you can assume it to be on 3 levels. So 3 layers of switches there. Switches also, we'll be talking about. So these are just, connecting of networks, you can say. So switches, so 3 layers were there: access, distribution, or we call it as aggregate. And the third one is called core. Now the problem with this design was you cannot scale, you cannot add more servers. And most of the time the faults are there. They were subject to fault. So these are the also situations we need to know about these content provider networks, or DCN. So whenever we talk about the content provider networks or content delivery network, various popular internet services, they are delivering their content around the world, like the Googles, like the Netflix, like the Amazon Prime, using CDN, content delivery network. Now this CDN is what? It is a collection of various servers, one server, second server, third server, and this is globally distributed. And how it is distributed? So that the people who are requesting it, the client who is requesting it, must get the content as early as soon as possible, or it is placed so near to them that he assumes that he is getting it from his internet service provider like this. So Google, Facebook, Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc., they operate their own content delivery networks, own CDNs they use. So content can be even a small file, or it can be even cricket match streaming video or a football match. And this has to be replicated in various locations across a single CDN. So the content has to be replicated also. That is, a copy has to be made. I'll show you what is actually happening. So this is before CDN, that is content delivery network. And the second part is after CDN. Now here is the content we have. Now there is a, say, bandwidth I'm trying to show. Now the user is asking, they are user at different location, or mobile using their different location. Now what we can do after CDN is we can minimize this content, and we can keep the replica of that, a kind of cache. Content cache minimizes bandwidth to origin service. Now whenever someone is asking, he will get the replica of that content near to it. For example, if someone is in Dehradun in India, he can get the server or the content from server based at Delhi rather than going to Los Angeles. So when user requests, the content delivery network will decide what replica or which server having the cache it should serve. Okay. So this procedure or this all process of CDN has to take care of the distance of the client, which server is having load, the traffic load, the congestion. So this may switch. For example, Dehradun may switch to, say, Chandigarh server rather than going to Delhi. Transit networks. Transit means if there is no direct, say, flight possible, then go to some other place and then take the final destination. So this is the transit. So content and application, they are hosted in DCN, data center network, and we access this content from the access network. This normally happens. Okay. See, content is there and this is in DCN. We access it through access network. There is a proper network. So content will start or traverse internet from this data center, and we will have an access network, and ultimately it comes to our device. Right. But when the content provider and your ISP, that is the internet service provider, for example, content provider can be Facebook, it can be YouTube. When this content provider and the actual internet company of which you are, say, subscribed to, ISP, it can be BSNL in India, for example. If the content provider and ISP are not connected directly, how do you get the data? Then we are going to rely on the transit network. So we want the relay, we have to have a transit network to carry out the traffic. Let me tell you in an easy way. There are two networks here. There is no direct path. So we have to have a transit network in between. Okay. But if the network hosting the content, for example, YouTube or Google, and the access, this network exchange is quite heavy between this access network and the content network. So what they will do, they will say, let us connect them directly. For example, the Google and Netflix, they have a direct connection between the big ISPs, internet service provider, which provides you the internet, and the large content providers. So the CDN and these ISPs are directly connected now. Okay. So traditionally, these transit networks, they were called as backbone networks. Enterprise networks. Enterprise is all about a big institution, big campus, big college, big company, big factory. So we are talking about companies and universities. They have many computers. Normally these computers are connected through a network, and this allows the employees to do certain things like sharing data, like sharing resources, like sharing information. So these resource sharing, why it is important in the organization? Okay, let me give an example. A printer. Say 50 people are there in enterprise. Would you buy 50 printers for them, or just have a single printer and let them print through this? You can have a very good, very sophisticated printer, and 50 people can share this printer. Okay. And beyond that, important thing is sharing information. For example, if the enterprise is bank, the problem can be if something happens to the network, the bank will not last more than few minutes. So information sharing is also very important. In enterprise network, because the enterprise may be geographically in different area, the networks called the VPNs, or virtual private network. They will connect the individual network at different geographical notation or location or sites. For example, these are different networks. So this VPN will make them as a single logical network. It will combine this small. So one is in Los Angeles, other is in Tokyo or Seoul, Mumbai. So this is an attempt to end the tyranny of geography. For example, if it is your data and you are far off, for example, 100,000 kilometers or say 100 kilometers even. Now you need to get the data because it is your data. It's your company's data or you're working on it. So this VPN is all about end the tyranny of geography. Okay. So VPN is actually making a logical network. What you can say is, in a simpler term, you have a company information system. It has some certain data or database, and this database is put in a very say heavy end computer. You can call it as a server, and there will be some system administrator maintaining it. So employees all over the world, they have simpler machines and they are clients, and they can access this remote data from there. Basically, the client is using the network to get the data from the server. Now, one more important part of this enterprise computer network is actually to do with people rather than information. We talked about information and resources just now. So the computer network can provide a very powerful communication medium. For example, everyone does use the electronic mail. And if the company is giving money to telephone company, it will be a waste of money. So why not to use the network to send the email? So in order to have say calls, you can have IP telephony, VoIP, voice over IP. So here you can use the internet technology over this enterprise network. And even if you want to add the video with this audio, the video with audio, the multiple employees at certain different location geographically located, they can see, they can talk, they can hold a meeting. One more thing comes here is one person is at America, the other is at India. Now they can share their screens. This is desktop sharing. They are virtually working on each other's computer. And one more goal of this enterprise business is selling and buying. It is commerce. If you talk about airlines, bookstores, their retailers, they have provided their catalogs about their goods and services online. This is how this enterprise network helped to increase the level of their market. Network